Hello, I'm Danielle Whitehead. So I am doing my presentation, of course, on change and cognitive behavior therapy. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll start by sharing my screen. Okay. Oh. Mm, okay. So, of course, we've been talking about change. Um, More so personally. Um, And one of the things that I knew, but going through this class, it's more evident that change is really, really hard. Really, really hard. I mean, especially, well, I've realized like being in the class and having personal things that I want to change or um, situations, characteristics, just things of that nature. Like it's hard. It's hard if you're not dedicated and you really don't want it. So, while it is hard, this class has definitely opened my eyes um a lot, especially reading some of your responses and just hearing what you guys have to say, learning of situations that you guys have been in. It's inspirational, definitely motivating, and just lets me know that I'm not the only one who thinks it's hard. Okay, so just a definition of change. It means to alter, to transform, to switch. Basically, it means to not stay the same. When we talk about change, it goes from one thing to another, basically. Um, to replace with another, to make a shift from one to another, it doesn't stay the same. Whatever the issue is, whatever the problem is, whatever the situation, it doesn't stay the same. So the stages of change. As a social worker, the stages of change are very important when we're working with our patients or clients, um, because it definitely lets us know where our patient is or client is. In my case, patient, um, because the one thing about change, it's totally up to you. If it's your issue, your problem, it's up to you to change it. It's up to you to do the work. You have to put in the work. As a social worker, I'm just here to help you through it, provide you with resources. I'm, you know, I'm there to motivate you. Like, let's talk about it. Let's find out what else works if this doesn't work. But I can't make you change. I can give you all that you need to change. But if you don't want to, then change won't happen. And so, especially in my field, I work in a psychiatric facility, so we get the same people a lot, and it's some of them. It's simply because of their illness and because they have the illness. Some things they're not really in control of, but then you have those that don't really help their situation. They're non-compliant with their medication. They continue to use drugs. Um, they're not taking what we're giving them when they came the first time or the second time or the third time. They're not taking it and using it when they leave. So, I mean, it gets frustrating to work with people who don't want to change, or they're always in the pre-contemplation. Um, I'm sorry, pre-contemplation stage. Uh-oh. Okay. So for the stage, I'll break down the stages of change because they're very important when it comes to change, especially as an adult. I think it's more easier to tell where adults are in their when it comes to change than children. Because with adults, it's just easier to tell, definitely, and you'll understand when I explain the stages. So for pre-contemplation, it is a stage where there is no intention to change. During this stage, most people are unaware of their problem. I'm going to use weight loss or weight gain in this throughout the presentation. I felt like it was appropriate for the holidays. So let's just say you have a person who they love to eat, like me. They love to eat, and let's just say they put on others, like family, friends, coworkers. Notice they put on quite a bit of weight recently, like pretty quickly. But the person, they're really unaware. Like they're just like, oh, my clothes don't fit. Okay, I just need to buy new clothes. Or they're frustrated because their clothes don't fit, but they're not putting two and two together. Like, oh, well, your clothes don't fit because you're overeating, or you're eating way too much, or you're not eating healthy. You're not adding vegetables or whatever else to your diet. You're just eating literally whatever you want to eat. So they're unaware, or in some cases, they may be underaware of their problem. They don't recognize that their issue is an issue, because maybe in some cases, let's just say for a person that is drinking a lot, they've never been in the presence of an alcoholic. They've never, they know nothing about being an alcoholic, and in their family, everybody drinks and everybody's fine. But for this person, their drinking is just a little or a lot more than their family members. And it's to the point where it's creating issues in their daily life. But because they're not aware, they don't know what an alcoholic really means, or they haven't seen it, they haven't experienced that. They're underaware of what being an alcoholic really is. I mean, they've just seen their family drink and been okay. So they think they're fine. So in pre-contemplation, this stage, the individual's families or friends or whoever it may be are aware of the person's issues and is expressing it to them. During this stage, the individual may find themselves to be defensive. They don't think so. But to family or whoever is expressing to them that they have an issue, they're being defensive. They don't see that it's a problem. Family may come up to you like, you're putting on a little weight, or you want to slow down, on your eating, like, oh, let's get a salad, throwing little hints. They're like, no, why? I don't want a salad. I want cheeseburger with fries and a milkshake, and I want dessert. They, or, well, I think, you need to slow down with your, like, why? Like, I'm fine. I'm not fat. I'm not, 1,200 pounds, 600 pounds, so they're not ready. They don't see it as a problem. And of course, really, and I use the example of weight loss because it's not so bad, but it's not, or weight gain. It's not so bad, but it's not so good. Because when we think, well, for me, when I think of stages of change and I think of all these stages, typically it's like something really bad, like drinking or like drugs, But when it comes to change, you can go through these stages with anything. Like maybe you shop too much, but you pay your bills, you have all the necessary things, you have food in the house and everything like that, but you shop too much. Maybe you could put that money into a savings account. Maybe you know your closets are way too full. You just like to spend money. So while it's not as big as drinking, it's still a problem. The problem, and it depends on the person, of course, but it can be something small, it can be something big. So that's why I chose weight gain. So during pre-contemplation stage, they're not ready. They don't recognize the issue. They're unaware. So going to contemplation, the individual is now aware during this stage that there is a problem and it needs to be addressed. So this is the time where the person is thinking heavily about, the process, like, okay, like maybe something happened, to have them take a step back, like, whoa, okay, maybe this is an issue for me. Maybe when they got up for work one morning, none of their pants fit. And they're like, whoa, wait, what? Like that would be a really big issue. So it's like, okay, maybe I need to slow down on the eating. And then when it comes to weight gain, you don't lose weight overnight. So you really got to put in a plan into action, exercising, changing your diet, drinking more water. These are things that they're thinking about. And of course, when we go throughout the day and maybe at work, somebody decided to buy lunch for everybody and you're looking at that food and you're just thinking about how in the morning your pants didn't fit. It's like, oh, man. But if I eat that, it's not going to help my situation. So they begin to weigh the pros and cons of the change. And of course, when it comes to eating food, we want to eat what we want to eat, but you have to make those changes. So that's the con, that you can't necessarily always eat what you want to eat when you want to eat it. So a person begins to feel conflicted emotions and they begin to identify the barriers for the change. Of course, we make excuses, but we go back and forth with it. So the contemplation stage, it can last for months. It can last even years. It depends on the person. They recognize that as a problem, but how bad do they want to change it? Then we come to the preparation stage. So during this stage, the person begins to experiment with small changes. Like, okay, well, this week I'm going to drink 8 ounces of water. Because if I'm correct, I don't want to give any wrong information, but drinking a lot of water, it makes you full. So, you're not really snacking all day. And if I'm correct, it can help you lose weight. So that's a tip. So it's like, okay, I'll drink 8 ounces of water every day, or even start with 6 or 5, start off slow, or, I'll make sure I eat, add a veggie to my dinner 3 or 4 times this week, to change it up. Maybe I won't get that much. Like, oh, I really want however much of that, but I'm just gonna cut back. Just starting slow. And then, they create a plan and they write down the goals that they want to achieve. They do research or, whatever, gain information to help them prepare for what is about to be a big change for them. While it may seem like it's easy, it more than likely will not be. And also during the preparation stage, it's really important to have support when you're about to go through a change, when you know that well, not when you know, but when you figure that you're gonna struggle, or like, okay, I knew it was a problem a year ago, so I definitely need a support team to help me get through this, because I was on a contemplation stage for a year. So, it's going to be hard for me. So it's really useful to have a support system to let people know like what you're going to do, and just be able to reach out to them and let them know, how you're feeling. If you feel like you want to give up or something, just have somebody there to support you. That's always very, very helpful in any situation. Then we move on to the action stage. So during this stage, this is when the person actually puts their plan to work. Like they're ready. They're ready to do this. They're ready to make some real changes in their lives. So they begin to modify their behavior or change their environment, or avoid certain environments. They modify experiences that they may have just so they can overcome their problem. So if in the morning person eats breakfast, and then usually by the time they get to work, they're snacking on something, it's like, okay, no, let me not do that. Or, I mean, it can even be a healthier snack, but they're not going to have that bag of chips this morning. They're going to wait a little closer to lunch, to maybe have some peanuts. They know that when they go out with their friends, they always want to stop and at some restaurant, some buffet. And they're like, no, I can't do that because I don't have control right now. Like, I'm not in control of, I'm not that in control yet. So I'll just drive by myself. And when we're done with our event, I'll just go home. Instead of riding with someone, like basically being on somebody else's time and being in a situation where you end up at the buffet. And of course, you're going to eat, and you may end up, doing what you normally do. So just changing things around, being aware of situations, and just trying to avoid the temptation. This stage, of course, the action stage, requires commitment, and it requires energy. And, again, you have your support system. So your support system can help you get you through when it gets hard. For the next stage, which is maintenance, this stage involves successfully avoiding former behaviors. The person is able to recognize temptation and avoid it, and they are able to replace old habits with new ones. They continuously work to prevent relapse, and they remain free of the problem. So typically, when you go through the action stage successfully, it's about like 6 months to a year. And so maintenance is just keeping it going, keeping it going, keeping it going. Like when I said replace our old habits with new ones, instead of like with the snacks, instead of eating a bag of chips or having a pizza cake, having a pizza pie, you have peanuts or popcorn. It's very low in calories. Just something better. Can't really name all the healthy snacks because I don't know them, but something better. What I don't have listed on here is relapse. That's actually, it depends on who's giving the stages of change, but for some, relapse is a part of stages of change. For some, it isn't. But relapse I feel, is very, very, very important, and it should be included in the stages of change because like I said, the process is not easy. So there's going to be a time where you may possibly have more than 2 cupcakes or 1 cupcake. And you're going to feel, maybe, possibly, depending on what stage you are in, you're going to feel bad about it. You're going to feel like, oh my goodness, why did I do that? I ate all those calories. The workout was for nothing. And, you're going to go through that. And that's fine. It's normal. It is okay. It's not going to be an easy process. And when you fall, you just got to get back up and start again. A new day, because a new day, with a new day comes a new opportunity to start all over. And that's the great thing about it. When it comes to stages of change, you can start over. Like, once you fail, you don't have to give up completely and just stick with what you've been doing. No, you can start over. And nobody should, but you just know next time, you live and you learn. So you learn from that situation, like, okay, no, I can't do 2 cupcakes. I cannot do 2 cupcakes. I should know better, or just learn from the situation. Don't put yourself down so bad. It's okay. And I mean, throughout the time, there may be, I won't put that out there that there will be, but there may be times where relapse happens over and over and over again. But again, you just get back up and you keep pushing forward so you can achieve your goal. So let's see. So, problems of change. This goes back to what I was speaking about earlier with the pre-contemplation stage. So, changes occur when new perspectives are developed and lead to new actions. If a person does not recognize that there's an issue, change will not occur. It's not going to happen. And it's so funny because yesterday I was watching The Office for the millionth time, and it was the episode where Michael told Meredith she had a drinking problem. And so he tricked her by telling her, like, oh yeah, we're going to go to the bar and we're going to have some drinks, when he was really taking her to a rehab facility. And he dragged her in there, but they told him, you can't if a person does not want to do rehab, you can't force them. They're not going to take them because there's no point. If they do not believe that their issue is an issue, there's no point. There's no point in trying to help a person out. They have to be, they have to see the issue, and basically you'll drive yourself crazy if you continue to press and press and press and try to get the person to realize that they have a problem. The person has to realize it and see it on their own time. And sometimes, unfortunately, it gets to a point where something bad happens, and that's when they see it. But everyone's experience is different. So until they see something different or experience something different, their actions will remain the same. Problem with change, some people are just set in their ways. They don't want to change. They don't. I mean, I think for some people, even though that they know that there's a problem, they just are so set in their ways that change really isn't an option. Resistance, not willing to leave their comfort zone. So for a person, when they eat, they probably eat, when things are stressful. They probably eat when they're happy, they just, that's what they do. So they're not willing to leave their comfort zone. They're scared to leave their comfort zone. They're scared of change. They're scared to do anything else. They're scared of what may possibly be. So they resist any type of change. If they think you're trying to change them, they're like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not eating any vegetables today. Like, especially if you express like that there's an issue, they're probably resistant to anything that they think you're trying to do to change them. A person's environment, just like I said about, going out with friends and they typically go out to eat afterwards at a buffet. Or maybe, a person lives in the home, and while everybody else can eat and remain slim, it's not the case for you. So I think in that type of environment, it would be really, really hard to change because you have everything in front of you. Like the house, like mom's always cooking, and she's always cooking all these delicious foods that have nothing to do with anything healthy, or so it's hard because when dinner is served, it's all your favorites, so that would create a problem when it comes to change. Like, you would really have to be in a really, really, really like strong place of wanting to change to be in that environment, and you're not able to leave when, just like that. So a person's environment can be a problem for change. They underestimate the process, or predict failure. From the beginning, it's just like, I don't think I'm gonna do it. Like, I can't. I'm not gonna be good at this. Like, I hate exercising. Like, I'm not gonna lose any weight because I can't exercise. I can only do about 10 minutes and that's it. Like, I just doubt, just negative thoughts, negative everything. So that definitely is a problem for change. Which I'm glad I said that. And again, they're unaware of the problem. And I think for some issues, like, okay, going back to the shopping issue, if you pay all your bills and you always got food in your house, then, everything's taken care of, and you just like to shop a lot, it's kind of hard in that sense to tell that it is a problem because you're not lacking anywhere. It's not like you're just blowing all your money away and your bills are overdue and you're about to get evicted or anything like that. So in that situation, it would be hard to become aware of the problem. So that would be a hard one. It's kind of hard to make a person aware when there really are no consequences. Yeah. So going to cognitive behavior therapy, which is CBT. Just to break down what it is. So CBT is a time-limited, problem-focused psychotherapy. So psychotherapy, talk therapy, basically with a therapist. CBT is typically, well, it was developed more so for depression, and it was used for anxiety disorders, and but what I love about CBT is I think it can be used anywhere when it comes to change. Like, let me go on, and you'll see why. So CBT is the integration of cognitive therapy and behavior therapy. So behavior therapy arose in the 1950s and 1960s to promote behavior change in humans. Cognitive therapy, of course, focused on working actively with cognitions and emotions. This is I'm sorry. So behavior therapy, of course, like I said, was to promote behavior changes in humans, but it was difficult to effectively change or engage with the person because major components of his or her experience were not being addressed. They were being neglected. So that's where cognitive therapy came in, where with cognitive therapy, you work actively with their emotions and cognitions. So Aaron Beck, who is considered the founder of CBT, originally developed CBT for depression. He did some research and found that depressed patients were suffering from their negative view of themselves, their world, and their future. Beck invited his patients to become scientific observers of their own experiences and respond more rationally to the thoughts, and also engaging them in journaling experiences as homework. He integrated behavior therapy, including the exposure exercises, behavior experiments, and more, into his treatment with the cognitive or the cognitions and emotions, therefore creating CBT. So CBT, that's next. So CBT is goal-oriented and it requires a person to take an active role. So, like I said, as a social worker, and in my field, in any field with social work, you know, we're your cheerleaders. You know, we're in the cheering section. We're rooting for you and everything else. You know, we're providing you with resources and stuff like that. Kind of giving you a push, giving you a step, but you have to do it. You know, this is your life. This is your mind, your thoughts, your behaviors, your feelings, your emotions. So the person has to play an active part. Nothing can get accomplished if they're not in the preparation stage or the action stage. And it's goal oriented. So, we can set goals at the beginning, after we recognize a few things, set goals, and go from there. Let's start working. Well, how can we achieve these goals? Let's set long-term goals. Let's set short-term goals. And let's discuss how we can, how we can achieve these goals, and let's make it happen. CBT allows a person to gain a better understanding of behaviors and motivation of others. Again, because it's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So it's kind of like a triangle. Thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And it goes up. Because your thoughts, based on your thoughts, you get your feelings. And then based on your feelings, you react a certain way. So gaining a better understanding of why you behaved a certain way, or why, you continue to eat the way you eat, or why you eat the way you eat, why maybe you just feel like, well, I just like to eat. It's like, no, it's kind of deeper than that, So just gaining a better understanding of why we do what we do. And, if it's wrong or not, just a negative behavior, gaining motivation to do better. CBT aims to change a person's thought pattern in order to facilitate change and use problem-solving skills to cope. CBT also calms one's mind and relaxes one's body. I think it does that because we gain a better understanding of what's going on and why we're doing it and everything like that. So it's like everything makes sense. So I feel you become more relaxed. And from there, you're able to gauge, what you do and how you do it and why you do what you do. Just learning how to recognize, things when it comes to your thought pattern and your feelings and your behaviors. So for CBT, changes in cognition equal changes or will create changes in brain functioning, which creates change in behavior. So if you let's see, if every time you have a bad day, you go home and you just eat a whole lot, the ideal would be to change that. So it's like, if you have a bad day, okay, no, we're not going to go home, or we're not going to just eat whatever until we can't eat anymore. We're going to find a different coping skill to cope and deal with our bad day. And so you get that set in your mind, it's bad day doesn't equal eating, whatever. You can even explore, why when I have a bad day do I eat? What does eating do for me? Eating makes me feel better. Does it just take away the pain for that moment? Like, what does it do? Recognizing and exploring that, dealing with that, and then changing bad day equals eat whatever, changing that to bad day equals go exercise, bad day equals take some time out, read the Bible, sit there, listen to music, just changing it so that changing that thought process, from bad day equals this to something else changes the behavior. And so that's one way you can change your eating. And stop the problem or solve one thing, one area when it comes to your weight gain or eating issues. Components of CBT. So, of course, when it comes to CBT and typically any therapy, good therapeutic relationships are a must, because your therapist, when it comes to CBT, your therapist should be a part of your support system. That's probably the person you'll gain most motivation from. Just having your therapist on your side to be with you, like to when it comes to the detailing of it, of your plans, of your goals, of the change that is occurring or that you want to occur. Making the therapist just has to be on your side. And when it comes to CBT, if you don't feel like, because with CBT is change. CBT is all about change. So if you don't feel like your therapist is supportive of you or really cares, you're not motivated to change. Because I feel like if you reach out to a therapist in hopes to change something, then you're reaching out to them because you can't do it alone. So to have a therapist who you don't feel like is on your side or even supportive of you won't really help you much. Education. So it's very important when doing CBT to educate the client on what CBT is. And just it's very important to make sure the person grasps the concept of thoughts equal feelings, thoughts create feelings, and feelings create behaviors. Just educating them on CBT, the purpose of it, what it is, so that they can know and be able to recognize it when they're on their own. Setting goals, very important in CBT, because with change, you have to set goals. You have to set goals for yourself. I don't think you can really change with no goal in mind, because what are you changing to, or what do you want to change for? What is the goal that you have? And then homework. With CBT, there's definitely homework. There's journaling. There's a log, so you can write down. You can have a thought log, feelings log, and a behavior log, where you write down the thought that you had, and then the feeling that you had, and then how you behaved. Just to, in the beginning, to recognize, okay, that's why I did that, or there's journaling, and then of course, avoiding temptation and just different things. Depends on what the goals are, what the issue is. There's homework for it all, though. But the journaling and the logs are pretty important when it comes to starting out with CBT. You write it down so you can get a visual of it, because you've been doing what you've been doing when it comes to the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors for a long time. You don't recognize it, so when you write it down, it becomes more real, because you're writing down your experience and this is what you did. And so when you write it down and you and the therapist can go over it, it comes to life and you're able to see it from a different perspective. So I have a video, of course. Let's see. Of course. Well, let me stop the share and then I'll share it again. Then hopefully I get it right this time when it comes to the sound. Okay. Oh, wait.
Psychotropic medications are processed through multiple genetic pathways.
Skip the ad. Okay. And share screen. Share computer sound. Got it. Okay.
Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is the bread and butter of all psychotherapeutic modalities. This is because it's one of the few empirically valid talk therapeutic practices proven in clinical trials to effectively treat depression and anxiety. Certain fundamental aspects of CBT have been identified in various ancient philosophical traditions, particularly in Stoicism. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus believed that logic could be used to identify and discard false beliefs that lead to destructive emotions. This influenced the way modern CBT therapists identify cognitive distortions that contribute to depression and anxiety. CBT was originated from Aaron Beck in cognitive therapy, which was later developed into CBT, and Albert Ellis, who created rational emotive behavior therapy, or REBT, and came up with the ABC method. Let's look at an example of this, starting with the activating event. Let's say your girlfriend tells you to put the toilet seat down. A lot of people know this scenario. After the event occurs, it goes through our filter of perceptive beliefs, where we add subjective meaning to the event with our thoughts. A lot of guys would have an error in thinking and take it personal by saying something like, "She thinks I'm lazy." Then the resulting emotion would be anger, and you saying something like, "Why the hell should I? She's such a nag." Then finally, the resulting behavior would probably be a fight. Beck emphasized the importance of two people having drastically different thoughts about similar events based on our beliefs and the way we see the world. Therapists attempt to make the client aware of these negative thoughts or cognitive errors. One technique is to challenge them by simply reframing them. Let's look at a couple more of these beliefs that don't coincide with reality. Let's say one morning you wake up to birds chirping and you're angry. You're angry because you don't want to go to work. Then later that day it begins to rain and you just can't help but complain about that too. But what if you got a full night's sleep and the first thing you did in the morning was realize how grateful you are to have another day to experience life? And then when it inevitably rains later that day, it reminds you of your childhood stomping in puddles. And you think to yourself, this is awesome. Humans are very emotional creatures. We make decisions and perceive our world based off how we feel in the moment. Major companies know this, so they market to people's emotions rather than their logic. We see the world through the lens of our emotions. This is known as a mental filter or emotional reasoning. We also tend to make assumptions about how good we are at something or about how an event will go based on previous similar events. However, when reality goes against our expectations, we become sad, angry, and depressed. These assumptions are known as jumping to conclusions. Have you ever been late to work and while you're rushing there you think, "Oh my gosh, my boss is going to get mad at me, he's going to yell at me, then I'm going to get fired, then I'll probably end up homeless on the streets." People who do this exaggerate the importance of problems, shortcomings, and minor annoyances. This is known as magnification or catastrophizing, where we think of the worst possible outcome in a given situation. CBT works because it makes our oftentimes unaware internal processes and habitual behaviors noticeable. And it shows you that each of these processes are all connected to each other. However, there is one criticism that I want to point out to you about CBT. Recent research by Jonathan Haidt, who wrote the book Happiness Hypothesis, says that our emotions actually are the old software that has been developing for thousands and thousands of years. And our higher cognitive part of the brain in the frontal part of the lobes is like the new software. So in reality, what really happens is an activating event occurs, we always experience the emotion first. Then our cognitive process comes in like a little lawyer to explain that said emotion. We may not be able to control how something makes us feel at first, but we can choose how to think and act on those feelings. Let me know in the comments below what cognitive error you guys fall for most. And as always, thanks for watching. Until next time.
Okay. Okay. So he basically shared what I said, how thoughts, emotions, or feelings, and then behaviors. It's all basically a cycle. I love the example that was used as far as like, okay, you wake up in the morning, let's say you wake up upset, so your day will tend to just go that way typically. But if you wake up, you're happy, you know, it's raining or it's snowing outside, you know, you're like, oh, okay, you know, you think of something good. But if you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, you know, it can just that just the thoughts in your head, like, oh, I don't want to go to work, you know, I don't feel like it, you know, that it sets the tone for your day basically, and it sets the tone for how you're going to feel, you know, when you get to work, and how you may behave when you get to work. So, and also the example that he used with the couple, you know, she asked him to let the toilet seat down because he interpreted it the wrong way, you know, and because he interpreted the wrong way, he was upset, and his response created a situation that just wasn't necessary, you know. But you know, it's how we perceive things, you know, and from there, that's how our feelings and our behaviors are going to go. So the process when it comes to CBT, you identify the problem. You start with identifying the problem. You know, when you go through your assessment and everything with your patient, you find out, you know, what the issue is. You know, if they don't know, then, you know, you find out together. But typically, a person usually knows. Then you make the person aware of their thoughts, their emotions, and their beliefs about the problem. So with our weight gain issue, a thought could be, that's a hard one. But it starts with the thought, and then the emotion, and then the okay, I'm not really sure. Not really sure what happened, but let's see. Okay. My internet went out, so I had to turn my hotspot on. I don't know, the power people are out there doing something. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, identifying the becoming aware of the thought, emotions, and beliefs about the issue and the behaviors that occur because of the thoughts, and the emotions and the beliefs about the issue. Very important to identify the negative and inaccurate parts of the negative and inaccurate thinking that occurs. I'm sorry. Because that's what you want to change, of course. So it's really important to identify those things. And with the log and with the journal, you know, that's an easy way to identify those negative things. Then, of course, you address and evaluate, go over the negative thoughts. Let's address them. Let's talk about why we're having them. Is it true? You know, is it true? Is it what's the evidence behind it? Oh, there's no evidence behind it. Then let's change that. What's the truth? So let's build from the truth. And then relapse prevention. And of course, once you start with the thinking, and when you work on the thinking, then everything else will follow. You know, just like you said, you wake up in the morning, you're upset because you got to go to work or something like that. Everything follows. The negativity follows. You wake up, you're thankful, you're grateful for another day. The positivity follows. Even if something happens, you know, you're still, you know, still able to get the positivity still there, you know. And then, of course, relapse prevention and termination. Making sure that the person has the skills that they need, you know, to continue on without you as a therapist. And just making sure that they're strong enough, you know, making sure that the action stage has gone on pretty smoothly, even with maybe a little bumps in the road. The person was still able to wake up the next day like, okay, you know, it's a new day. I may have slipped, but I have to do this. I have to make things better for myself. So that's the process. Why it works. Why CBT works. Because it's based on the client's experience. CBT is all about the person. All about the person and their what goes on in their mind, their behaviors, all about the person. Only about the person. It encourages practice and compliance. Because you have to practice these things. You have to complete the homework. And when you're doing it on your own, it strengthens you to continue to do it on your own. Of course, you have your therapist in your background and in your cheer section, you know, for the time being. But when the sessions are over, you're prepped and you're ready to continue on by yourself. So that's why practice is important, and that's why CBT works. You have a sense of control. The person, they're in control. It only works if they allow it to. Progress is only made if they make it. It's all under the client's control. Assumptions make sense. So, you know, like I said, you go through the negative things, even the positive things, if necessary, to see what's true and what's not true. You know, this isn't true. So let's throw that out. This is true. We have evidence behind it, you know. So let's roll with it, you know. And it's a clear treatment approach. CBT, thoughts, feelings, behaviors. Why did you behave like that? Well, I behaved like that because I felt like, or I thought this. Well, you thought that and it made you feel how? And so you behaved because you felt, you know, it's a 1, 2, 3. It's very easy. CBT CBT is easy. The changing part, not so easy. But like I said, when you're dedicated and you're willing and ready to make the change, you go for it. You have to be dedicated. You have to be committed. You have to put in the time. And you have to have the energy to make such a change. And of course, it doesn't, you know, it's not hard forever. You become used to what you're changing. You become used to the new habits. You become used to the new thoughts, the new things. And it becomes, it's almost as if it, you know, was what you've been doing the whole time. So it's just about getting over the hump. I like to tell people that, you know, you have to get over the hump. And once you get over the hump, you're good. You're fine. You are fine. But it's just about getting over the hump. How big the hump is, we're unaware of. But we know that on the other side of the hump, there is smooth sailing. So just about getting over that hump and making sure we're dedicated and willing to put in the work to change what needs to be changed. And that is all. So thank you guys, and I hope everybody had a really great Thanksgiving, and I'm be praying for us the next 2 weeks because it's the end of the semester and I'm pretty sure we all are ready for that break. Thank you.